What's up, YouTube fam? Big Al here. Today I'm going to show you guys how to do pivot fakies. Pivot fakie is a hard trick to learn. So I'd say if you can do backside pivot stalls and you can do rock fakies, then you're ready to learn how to do pivot fakies. So the foot placement for pivot fakies is you're going to want your front foot right on the bolts because that's what controls your board from not tapping down on the coping. The trick itself is really all in the back foot. I like to keep my toe on the tail and I like my heel hanging off because that's what guides getting my back truck on and then putting it back into the transition. So, going for pivot fakie is really hard at first. It's very scary. You're scared of the hang up. That's usually the fall that comes with pivot fakie, but you just got to keep going for it. You got to get over that little barrier in your head and, you just got to keep going for it. It's honestly the truth of it. It's skateboarding, it's repetition, but the more you do it, the more you figure it out, the better used to it you'll get. Something to help you break out of, the hanging up thing is to do a pivot to rock fakie to get used to the idea of bringing it all the way in. If you do pivot rock fakie, you're halfway there. You kind of just focus on the manual a little bit more, have your shoulders turned out, and before you know it, you're doing a pivot fakie, just without setting down the rock fakie. So with pivot fakies, it's also all on the shoulders. It's basically all on the shoulders and in the back foot. As I was saying, you get your heel wheel over the coping and you just keep your shoulders kind of like leveled out fakie. You're like looking, you're looking to the side over your shoulder, like looking back. So as long as you're looking back and you keep your shoulders leveled out with your feet to go fakie and you kind of just turn your waist and your legs, your feet are going to follow where your shoulders are. So if you're prepared with your shoulders to go fakie, your feet and legs are going to follow. So remember, just kind of look back and do everything with the feet, the back foot, and you just did a pivot fakie. All right, so when you're going to do pivot fakies, you want to do a slight manual before the coping like you would for any trick you're really going to go up and hit your truck. As you go up, I was saying the foot position, you want the back foot right in that pocket, heel kind of hanging off the side because that's what's going to give you leverage once you get on the coping. So once you get on the coping, again, you just want that heel wheel right here over the coping because if you get all the way up on top, it's going to be damn near impossible to bring that whole board back in. So again, just get the very bare minimum, just the wheel over the coping. So once you're on the coping, your shoulders are going to be straight, kind of like mine are right here. They're going to be level with the way you go up to the quarter pipe. You're not going to want to turn your shoulders and turn back. You kind of just want to keep your shoulders just like this, looking back. As long as you're looking back, that's what's going to guide your board to go back into fakie. So lift up before you go up to the quarter pipe, get that heel wheel over, start looking back over your shoulder, have your arms out for balance, and then that's when you want to start putting weight on your toe and the back foot so that you can get that back wheel off the coping and then take it back into fakie. You just did a pivot fakie. Yeah! So with pivot fakies, it is kind of scary because you're scared of hanging up, locking that front truck when you're bringing it back in. So as long as you follow the foot placement I described to you guys earlier, you have your heel hanging off, you just get that back wheel over, and then you put weight kind of on your toes to guide the board back in without hanging up. If you just do that and you just keep going for it, just keep trying, it's going to happen sooner than later. Don't give up right away. Don't give up if you hang up. If you hang up, that means you were really close to getting it and that you went for it. So, just commit, and when it feels right, just put it down. You guys got it. So we got some pivot fakies at this DIY. It's a little bit harder when you're first doing pivot fakies at a DIY. I'd recommend going to a skate park Another thing with quarter pipes is I found out that the steeper the quarter pipe is, a little bit easier it is to get the full board back into fakie. When it's mellower, you're doing more of a manual and you got to hold the manual a little bit longer. So that can be scarier in a sense. So whether it's pool coping like that, or even if it's regular coping, pivot fakie is going to work the same way no matter where you are. I mean, it might be a little bit harder to take it in from pool coping. It might grab the truck a little bit more, but you know, by doing it on regular coping first, moving it to pool coping, that's also a good route to go for you guys. You know, just work your way up. All right, guys. So we got some pivot fakies on this DIY quarter pipe. It's about, I'd say, 5 feet tall. You know, it's a good way. It's a good size of a quarter pipe to start learning the trick on. You know, as I said before, maybe start doing pivot rock fakie so you can get the idea of the shoulders and how they turn. And then from there in time, you know, just hold the manual, the fakie manual when you're going down, you know, put weight on the toes, have those shoulders straight, and just manual for a little bit longer. And you know, you clear the coping completely, no rock fakie, and there it is, that's a pivot fakie. So yeah, you just want to have your back truck, your heel wheel just on the coping. You don't want your whole truck on. You want your shoulders kind of in this position over the top. And then you want to apply weight onto your toes to get that back truck hooked off the coping and go back into fakie like this. All right, guys, now we're back at Santa Barbara Skate Park and we're going to continue doing some pivot fakies. Follow the foot placement, look back over your shoulders, and start at a skate park before you do a DIY. But I thought if I showed you on a harder thing, then I'd show you guys it's possible to do pivot fakies anywhere. I hope this was a good trick tip. I hope it helped some of you guys out. If you haven't liked and subscribed already, get on it because trick tips are coming weekly. Big Al loves you. My friends love you. Say I love you. We love you, YouTube. Coming soon. See you guys next week.
Subscribe to Big Al's page and watch all his videos. He's a shredder, so yeah, subscribe.